Greetings and welcome back for another Music Theory Bite. In this video, we're going to go over the process for sight singing a diatonic melody. If that's something you would like to learn more about, then this is the video for you. Singing a melody at sight is the skill that brings together a lot of the other skills with which you have likely been working. If at any time you don't understand something that I suggest you do, then I probably have a video for that topic or skill, so you should stop, find that video and watch it, master the material in it, and then come back to this video. Don't know where to find my videos? Well, I have a solution for you. Subscribe to my channel. You're just a few clicks away from all the music theory bites that are out there ready for you to watch. Before we get started, a quick word about syllables. As always, I'm going to move back and forth between using solfege syllables and scale degree numbers. All of my examples will be labeled with both. Use the system that makes the most sense to you, or the one that your theory teacher requires you to use. So, sight singing melodies. It's something every music student has to do. It's something professional musicians need to be able to do. And it can cause a lot of anxiety and frustration. Sight singing is the ability to take a look at written music and to know what it sounds like without any external help. It's something every music student has to do for their theory classes, and it's something professional musicians need to be able to do to be functional and proficient professionals. It can cause a lot of anxiety and frustration, but it doesn't have to if you have a plan for approaching sight singing and you have the skills that you'll need to do it in an efficient way. It doesn't have to be scary, and if you feel confident with your skills, it can even be fun. Let's start by looking at a melody. This melody I wrote specifically for illustrating the process. We take a look at it, and the first thing I'm going to caution you against is singing it from note to note to note. That is specifically not what you want to do. It's a very inefficient way to look at a melody. It leads to a lot of mistakes, and once a mistake is made, it's very hard to get back to the written melody. So we need a plan. We're going to develop a plan, and we're going to follow that plan, and this will help you to be able to sight sing accurately. Step 1, let's get the basics. So we begin by looking at the clef. The clef tells us what pitches the lines and spaces on the staff represent. Keep in mind, we see pitches, but we're going to read scale degrees. In this case, we'll be dealing with the bass clef, but before we know what scale degrees each pitch represents, we need to interpret the key signature. Remember that a key signature represents two likely keys, one in major and one in minor. We need to figure out which one is the actual key. So we'll start by looking at the last pitch. It's usually tonic. We can also look at the first pitch, which is usually either a member of the tonic triad or the dominant pitch. Finally, we also look at accidentals. Minor keys usually need a leading tone. Also, never completely trust the key signature. It's usually correct, but in some cases, such as if the music is temporarily modulated, composers won't change the key signature, but they will instead use accidentals throughout such a passage. If you see a consistent use of a particular accidental, you should treat it as part of the key signature. So in this case, I see two flats. So I'm thinking that it's likely either B flat major or G minor. I check out the last pitch, a B flat, which is pointing me towards B flat major, and I don't see any accidentals, so I'm reasonably confident that this melody is in B flat major. At this point, I can go ahead and put myself in the key. 1, and I'm going to do this by singing all of my scale degree patterns. 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 6, 5, 3, 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 5, 1. Next, I look at the meter signature. I want to make sure I have the correct metric feel. If you need help interpreting meter signatures, check out my video on that subject. In this case, I see 4/4, which means a simple meter, 4 beats to the measure, and the quarter note is the beat note. So that takes care of the basics. Step 2. I scan the melody, and I look for anything that catches my eye, such as tricky rhythms, wide leaps. I look for style and performance indications, such as tempo or style markings, crescendos, articulation marks, tempo changes. I make mental note of anything that catches my eye. You'll want to spend a little time practicing those in a few moments. In this case, I see a couple of intervals that I'm going to want to make sure I practice before I sing the melody. In measure 3, I see a perfect fourth up. In measure 4, I see a perfect fourth down. And in measure 7, I see a minor sixth down. Now, I label those by quality and size, but what I really want to do is think of those as combinations of scale degrees. So my perfect fourth in measure 3 is going to be Do to Fa. My perfect fourth in measure 4 is going to be Sol to Re. And my minor sixth in measure 7 is going to be Sol to Ti. Again, I'll practice those in a few minutes. I also see a tempo marking of allegretto, which means a little bit less than allegro. And I see plenty of dynamic markings. I'm going to want to use those to help shape the phrase. Now I'm going to move on to step 3, and that's figuring out the rhythm and the phrasing. Spend a few seconds working only on the rhythm. Figure out where things happen before you figure out specifically what happens. I'm looking specifically for rhythms that look like they're going to be particularly tricky or troublesome. And I also want to take a look for how the rhythm is going to create opportunities for musical expression. I'm also going to look for phrase structure. I'm looking specifically for cadences, or moments where the musical motion pauses. At the beginnings of each phrase, I'm going to look for repetition of rhythmic and melodic figures. Remember that each repeated element shortens the number of things that you need to figure out. Figure it out once, and then plug it back in where it returns. In this case, I see a two-phrase structure. The first line is the first phrase, ending in what we're going to call a half cadence, or an inconclusive cadence on scale degree 2 or Re. And the second phrase ends with an authentic cadence or complete cadence. The beginnings of the two phrases are identical, and then in measure 2 of each phrase, it begins to depart, go a different direction. So as I look at this, I'm going to quickly intone the rhythm in my head, and it's going to sound like this. Ta, 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 ya da 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 da. Da 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 ya da 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 da. If you know rhythmic syllables, you can use those. I just like to use neutral syllables, and notice how I was making an attempt to follow the dynamic markings and the articulation markings that I found in step 2. On to step 4. Once you're fairly confident about the rhythm, start to work on pitches. Or, I should say again, start to work on scale degrees. If you sing pitches, you're singing intervals, which is a very inefficient and somewhat dangerous way to sing. Start thinking scale degrees from the start. Before I start doing individual pitches, I want to spend a little bit of time doing what I call chunking. Taking groups of pitches that form larger structures that I recognize, and recognizing those as those larger structures. So for example, I see that measure 1 and measure 5 are both major triads in first inversion in first ordering. I also see a triad in measure 3, which is a major triad in second inversion in first ordering with another pitch added on. And then in measure 7, I see another major triad in root position in first ordering. So I've just taken 12 pitches and I've reduced those down to 4 things that I already know how to sing in a different context. I also see that measure 2 and measure 6 are scales. Measure 2 takes me from scale degree 7 down to scale degree 1 before switching directions. And measure 6 takes me from scale degree 2 down to scale degree 2. So I can think of those, instead of being 7 or 8 pitches, as being one entity. So if I can understand a group of pitches as a larger structure, again, I'm reducing the number of things that I need to sing. Successful sight singing relies a lot on reducing the amount of work that you have to do. A triad goes from being 3 pitches to one thing. A scale segment goes from several pitches to one thing. On to step 5. Before I work on all the components of the melody and work pitch to pitch, I want to find the melody's bones. That is, an underlying structure that holds the melody together. Most melodies have an embedded scale in them. Choose the one pitch in each measure that you think is particularly important. Treat those as marks to hit along the way, like an actor who knows to be at a certain place on stage during a scene. String those structural pitches together and hear the intervening pitches as departures from this musical scaffolding. So in this case, I see 2 possible ways of interpreting the bones of this melody. I see a scale that begins with the last pitch of measure 1, do, goes to the first pitch of measure 2, ti, goes to the third pitch of measure 3, la, and goes to the downbeat of measure 4, sol. In measure 5, it continues to hang on to that sol, sol. It passes through it on the scale in measure 6, sol. In measure 7, we return to it, sol, before it resolves to tonic in the last measure, do. Another potential scaffolding I see begins with the first pitch, mi, which at the end of the first phrase in measure 4 slides down to re, before returning in measure 5 to mi, and at the end of measure 6 to the downbeat of measure 7, re, do. And to emphasize the arrival on our final tonic, at the end of measure 7 to the downbeat of measure 8 goes ti, do. So I have 2 groups of pitches in this melody that I'm going to look for, listen for, and make sure I hit correctly every time I reach them. Step 6. It's now time for me to practice the leaps that I found in step 2. So I have in measure 3 a perfect fourth from do to fa. Do, fa. I have in measure 4 perfect fourth from sol down to re. Sol, re. And I have in measure 7 a minor sixth from sol down to ti. Sol, ti. Those are the places, the leaps that I'm most concerned about. So I might practice those one more time. I'm also going to practice some of the individual structures that I recognized in my previous steps. Mi, sol, do. That's measure 1. Measure 2 is a scale. Ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Measure 3 has that major triad in second inversion, a subdominant triad. Do, fa, la, fa. Measure 5 has the same triad that began the work. Mi, sol, do. Measure 6 is a scale from re to re. Re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re. Measure 7 is a triad. Do, mi, sol. I can sing each of those structures individually, so now it's a matter of putting them all together. Step 7. Begin to practice and hear the melody as a succession of scale degrees. So, working through it, mi, sol, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, la, fa, sol, re, mi, sol, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, sol, ti, do. There was one place in there where I wasn't real happy with what I sang, and that was measure 3, do, fa. So I'm going to practice that one more time to make sure that I'm more confident with it. I now think that I'm technically ready to sing the melody, which leads me to step 8. Let the music tell you how to sing it as music. Technical perfection is wonderful, but not always very interesting. So turn the melody into a piece of music. Use the dynamics, use the articulation markings, use your musical intuition to express something. Focus on communication. One final scan, and then I think I'm ready to sing it for real. Mi, sol, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, la, fa, sol, re. Mi, sol, do, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, mi, sol, ti, do. Keep in mind that every melody is going to have its own unique features that will tell you how to approach it. So the steps that I gave you are a little bit generic, but they're intentionally so you can adapt them for the specific musical circumstances that you come across. Now, let's see how this works in practice. I have 2 melodies that I asked the colleague to find for me, melodies that I likely have never seen before, and sure enough, my colleague came up with 2 melodies that are completely unfamiliar to me. So I'm going to work through the process for sight singing these. The musical examples you're about to see on your screen, I haven't put together yet. I'm going to do that as soon as I finish recording this video. But what you're going to hear is true sight singing, reading melodies that I've never seen before. So our first melody looks like this. I quickly scan the big picture stuff. I see it's treble clef. I don't see a key signature, so the first thing I'm thinking is either C major or A minor. But when I take a look at the last pitch, I see a D. The first pitch is also a D. And as I scan the melody, especially the second line, I see a bunch of C sharps. So this is one of those occasions where the key signature does not accurately reflect the key that is likely in. I think this is in D minor. So I take a look now at the meter signature. It is 3/4. I don't see any rhythms in there that are particularly tricky. One particular figure seems to come back quite a bit, and that's the dotted quarter note and 3/8 notes. So I'm just going to work through the rhythm very quickly. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. I'm going to pause for a second and point out that the first 4 measures repeat on the second 4 measures. So once I figured out the first 4 measures, the rhythm merely needs to be repeated for the second 4 measures. There might be some more repetition here, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. Notice that there are repeat signs in here. I'm going to skip the repeat signs for now. Typically, I recommend that form is the first thing you check out when you take a look at a melody. So working on the second line, I'll start with the pickup to the second measure. Ta ta da 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 da. Da 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 da. So I have 4 instances of the exact same rhythm. That will make this a lot easier to read. Now, I might be taking this a little faster than you would probably take it if you were sight singing. I'm a little bit more experienced at doing this, and I'll probably slow it down when I start working on pitches. Alright, so I don't see any articulation marks or dynamic marks that are going to help me with interpretation on this one, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of that work on my own. Next, I'm going to take a look at the scale degree content. And first I need to put myself in the key. 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 6, 5, 3, 1, 7, 6, 5, 3, 1, 7, 1, 6, 7, 1, 5, 1. Looking for structural pitches along the way. 1, 5 are my first two pitches. That 5 seems to step down 5, 4 in measure 2, 3 in the next measure, and then it goes back to 1, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2. Those are both in that last measure of the first line, and it ends the first phrase on 1. So that phrase, or those two phrases, seem to consist of two instances of leaping up to 5 and stepping down until we reach the tonic. The third phrase, beginning after the repeat sign, 1, 2, 3, 4, it changes direction. It's stepping up. And now the last phrase, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So I have a very clear scalar basis behind what's going on in the melody. I look for triads. I don't really see any in there. I see some arpeggiations. I see a few scales that I could use to help me out. Now I'm going to work through the melody just to make sure that I get the scale degree content. I see some of those rhythmic figures that repeat down a step. We call that a musical sequence. I'm going to try to use that to help me out as I work through this melody. 1, 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. 1, 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. First two phrases. Second phrase is a literal repetition of the first. Once I recognize that, that made it very easy to sing. I just sing the same thing again. Now, moving on to the second half. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 7, 1. Now I think I'm ready to put it all together. I need to be thinking about musicality, about communication. So here we go. 1, 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. 1, 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 1, 1, 7, 1. And then, of course, I would play it again to make sure that I had it correct. In this case, I feel pretty confident about what I just sang. All right, here's the second melody that my colleague picked out for me. So I'm going to start by taking a look at the big picture stuff. I see treble clef again. I see no key signature, so I'm probably thinking C major or A minor. However, just like with that last melody, this one ends on a D, which doesn't make sense. So I start scanning the melody, and I see a lot of C sharps and B naturals, which I would expect to be in the key of D minor, which was what I'm leaning towards. So this looks to me like we are again in the key of D minor. I'm in 6/8 time, which means a duple meter, 2 beats to the measure, and the dotted quarter note will receive 1 beat. So I'm now going to take a look at other features. I don't see any dynamic markings or articulation markings. I do see a style marking, gaiement, which probably means something like gaily, with happiness, with joy, something like that. I would want to look that up if I had the opportunity in a professional situation. Now, taking a look at the rhythm to make sure I know where everything happens, rhythm and phrasing. This looks to me like it might be another 2-phrase structure. Most of the first phrase goes on that first line with a cadence, possibly a half cadence at the beginning of the second line, which would make it an unbalanced phrase structure. It's possible. It could just be one phrase, so I'm going to have to explore that one a little bit more closely. Let's work through the rhythm. I'll go nice and slowly because there's lots of 16th notes. I always want to take the smallest note value, the shortest note, and use that to determine my tempo. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Da da, yet da 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 da, yet da 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 da, yet da 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 da, yet da 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 da, yet da 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 da. So I picked up on a few things. Wherever I have repeated material, such as the sequential stuff on line 2, I always want to make it either go towards a goal or away from a goal. So you notice I started to put in a crescendo there. The repetition of the material from the first 2 measures of line 1 to the last 2 measures of line 1, I again tried to do something a little different with it. Whenever I repeat material, I want to try to make it do something. Alright, so I need to put myself in the key. 1, 1, 3, 5. I'm not going to sing all the scale degree patterns this time. I'm still in the key from my previous melody. And I look for embedded scales. 5, which hangs on to 5 in measure 2, which seems to hang on to measure 3, 5, 5. So that 5 kind of hangs out there quite a bit. And then in the second last measure, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's probably some other embedded scales that I could use, such as 3 in measure 1, 2, 1, 7, going from measure 2 to measure 3, 3, 2, 1, 7, that's measure 4 to measure 5, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Those are the first pitches of each of those groups of 6/16th notes. So if I start on measure 5, on that scale degree 5, the second note, 5, to the first note of the first group of 16th notes, 6, the first note of the next group of 16th notes, 7, the first note of the next group of 16th notes, 1, going on, 2, 3, 2, 1. That scale seems very helpful, so I'm going to want to hang on to that. I see lots of scalar passages. One thing I think I want to check is that run of 16th notes on the second line. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 7, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. That might take a little bit more practice, but I think I'm ready to try it. Now I'm going for accuracy. 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 7, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1. I think I'm ready to try it for real. I'm going to be thinking about musicality, about expression, about expressing all of those repeated elements in a slightly different way, using those 16th notes to propel me towards some musical goals. So here we go. 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 7, 1, 7, 7, 7, bum, 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 bum. So let's try this again. You'll notice that when I made a mistake, I just tried to keep going. I could do that, but I had lost all my scale degree numbers, and I was starting to get lost in there, so I wanted to try it again. So here we go. 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 7, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 1, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 7, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1, 1. And that's the process for sight singing a melody. Now, I know I probably made it look a lot easier than it's going to be for you. That's okay. I've been doing this a lot longer than you have, and you will work your way up into being able to do it as well as I just did. Where can you find some melodies to practice this? Well, if you're in a theory class, you can simply take your sight singing textbook and find melodies from there. Most sight singing textbooks are very good at organizing the melodies from easier to more difficult. Start with the easier ones, work your way through those, and just get better as you do it. If you are regularly practicing, that's also another opportunity to sight sing. What I recommend you do is pull out whatever it is you're supposed to be practicing, and before you play it on your instrument, sing it. Give yourself the starting pitch, go through the process of sight singing it, then play it on your instrument to see if it sounds like what you think it should sound like. If you happen to be a churchgoer, one trick that I always like to do is, as they're singing the hymns, sing a different line of the hymn each time through. Find music that you've never seen before and just give it your best shot. The more of it you do, the better you'll get at it. Well, that does it for this video. If you found it helpful, like it. You can leave constructive criticism down below, and as always, please subscribe to my channel so that you will know when the latest music theory bites become available. Until next time.